Hello and welcome to this episode of Point Counterpoint. We are here to discuss and deliberate, as always, issues of great importance to Goa and Goans. At times, the issues are relevant and call for action immediately. At times, issues need to be kept on the burner to ensure that we do not forget that people of Goa fought extensively on these issues. And right now they are desolate, they are despondent, and they are lamenting the loss of not only an airport. We are here to discuss the Dabolim versus Mopa airport issue. So since the time the Mopa airport has come into being, the people of Goa have a deep sense of loss that the Dabolim airport, which was hitherto promised to be kept open and function, is gradually losing not only its importance but its flights almost on a weekly and a monthly basis. While this should not come as a surprise to all, what has irked people is this constant narrative that has been played out for the last almost a decade or so, that the Mopa airport would only be the second airport and not the only airport, and Dabolim would not be shut and its operations would continue come what may. Of course, there was a lot of logic which pointed to exactly the opposite. The ICU report, as well as other studies, very specifically spoke of the fact that you can have two airports only if you have 24 million passengers, and that is a figure that is unlikely to be reached anytime shortly. Secondly, with Mopa coming in, traffic is moving rapidly there, leaving very little scope for Dabolim unless there is a will and there is a direction in ensuring that both the airports survive. However, let us go back to one important point, that on July 20th, 2000, the Manohar Parrikar cabinet at that point of time, when they were discussing this whole proposal for Mopa, it decided, and this is in the minutes, that the existing civilian operations from the Dabolim airport shall be closed upon commissioning the international airport. Notwithstanding that, there were several promises. We have documentation to state that two defense ministers, George Fernandez and Pranab Mukherjee, in communications to Goan leaders had promised that Dabolim would not suffer or would die down. And of course, there have been several other comments made by Goan MLAs, Goan ministers like Bovin Gudido, in whose constituency this falls, continuously giving hope, quote unquote, that this would not, the demise of Dabolim was exaggerated and it would never happen. However, with most international airlines now moving to Mopa, and then domestic airlines as well, the latest being SpiceJet, and even newer airlines like Fly 91 deciding to make Mopa as their base and not Dabolim, the writing on the wall is extremely clear. We are here essentially to recount some of these promises that were made and the feasibility or otherwise of Dabolim. But the question that we are asking to people very, very categorically is, we are not asking the people are asking rather, is when you make these kind of promises to us, were these just lip service to get votes, or are you serious about ensuring that Dabolim survives? The second, of course, most important, or one of the most important issues that we also need to flag is the tourism industry. The tourism industry is critical. Most of the major 5-star hotels are in South Goa, and the issue is large number of tourists, or at least high-end tourists, come to South Goa to be a part of these hotels. So how is the industry taking to it? How are other allied services like the shack owners taking to it? How is the taxi business taking to it? So all these issues are important, and we need to look at all these and flag these issues as we see the day-to-day reality unfolding. We have with us an extremely knowledgeable and panel of stakeholders and people who matter and who have a lot to say on these things, both from the ground as well as from the industry. Firstly, we have Abhijit Prabhudesai of the Rainbow Warriors, but of course he wears many other hats, one of that being of a person who has understood and studied aviation very closely and professionally. And Abhijit was of course one of the key members of the initial anti-Mopa pro Dabolim agitation. Next to him we have Nilesh Shah, the president of the TTAG, the Travel and Tourism Association of Goa, and of course the TTAG is a very, very crucial stakeholder in this on this issue. And of course on my extreme left we have Dominic Norona, who is a member of the GFTO, Goa for AA Only, one of the key NGOs contesting this shift and continuously asking questions to the powers that be on this issue. Abhijit, I'll start with you first. No specific question, but a quick response to how things are at this point of time.
It's my understanding that this has been a fatal, kind of almost fatal hit on Goa. The construction of Mopa Airport,
right,
so to speak. I mean, for me personally, it's the biggest loss of my life, I would say, because I've stayed a number of nights on the plateau and I have experienced this amazing place, and anybody who has will certainly say that this is a big mistake. But leaving aside personal experiences, as a person from the aviation industry, I have been involved in considering second airports like in Dubai and across the world with the top consultants of the world, and it's very clear, the writing is on the wall. You build a second airport and you are putting your entire economy under great risk, and this has been seen across the world, Greece, Poland, Spain, everywhere, Portugal. But I would like to say that all of this is happening because it's only driven by greed. It's not driven by reason, it's not driven by science, but it's driven by this concept that Goa, this brand name, I want to make money out of it. And it's like killing the goose laying golden eggs. That's what we are doing.
Right. Nilesh, the point here is from the point of view of industry. Continuously, there was this whole narrative, especially initially from the South Goa industry, saying that look, if the airport moves there, fine. The thing is, there can be super fast highways and access roads and expressways and so on and so forth. But ultimately, if you see the economic development, construction, all that will ultimately move to that area. 5-star hotels are going to come up, which will lead to a slow and tragic kind of a death or demise of the South Goa tourism industry. How far is that true?
No, I don't think so. That can be a answer. Reason being simple. Now, if you see the demography of Goa, it is not that big. Where and the distance of from one end to other end, it's with the type of highways which are there, and of course there are a few which are coming up with the flyovers and everything. It will be 1.5 hour maximum. So looking into that, I don't see that to be happening. In fact, it is the opportunity for South where I look at, because people who love the peace, means the mental peace, and the type of tourism which can come, high-end tourism, it will come in South, and it is coming in South. So if you see, all star hotels are in South.
How will you? But why do you feel the presence of Mopa and the absence of Dabolim will lead to?
First of all, that narrative is not correct. I personally feel both the airports will exist. I will give you few reasons for that. Why Mopa came in picture? Mopa came in picture because Dabolim was a naval airport, right? So I have completed more than 3 decades in the industry. From what I have been saying is, there has been no time at that airport from morning 8:30 to 12:30, Monday to Friday. On Saturday and in the evening, which they recently, it goes ups and downs between 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. And on Saturdays it is 7:30 to 11:30, right. And Sunday no time. So looking into that, there was already a restriction of flights coming into the Goa. And if Goa needs to sustain or is to grow, because what happened with the aspirational crowd coming in, with the more airlines coming in, the flights started increasing into Goa. Okay. So automatically traffic going up. So there was a thought of a need of new airport, Mopa. And way I understand it, the Kampa Gowda airport in Bengaluru or in airport in Hyderabad, in the agreement it was mentioned that after new airport coming in, the old airport will shut down. In this, when the new airport, the agreement with the GMR, what way I was made to understand, there is an agreement that both the airport will exist. So that clause is not there, which was there in the Bangalore airport. And also in the Bangalore airport, there is a period up to which they cannot recommission the old airport as per the agreement thing. So that is very clear. So both airports will exist. Even today, the number of flights which are coming at Dabolim are definitely more than Mopa, or
As of
what
today.
Mopa can, or Mopa can handle.
Yeah.
Now Mopa's capacity as of now is 4.4 million, which is around which they are touching. So if they have to grow, they have to expand, and they have the expansion plan. Similarly, the growth at Dabolim is capped at right now at around 10 million. So they are also in verge of growing for increasing the passengers. So the infrastructure similarly here.
So I've just one point here. I followed what you're saying. The point here is, look, undoubtedly Daboli has restrictions, but all along the political dispensation, included from the center and the state, have all along said yes, but the solution will come from expanding Dabolim, giving more acres of land in the Daboli area, improving the infrastructure so it takes the larger load to work its way around the restrictions of the defense airport. See, for instance, on 21st June, Pranab Mukherjee, in a letter to Luisine Falero at that point of time,
Which year we are talking?
June 21st, 2006.
2006.
Okay, I've got copies of the letter. I
No,
can
no,
also share.
2006. So that's why year is important.
Yeah, Mukherjee agreed to release additional 8.77 acres of land, of naval land to AAI for expansion and creation of infrastructure, civil enclave, upgradation and modernization of the airport. Okay, so the thinking clearly was that Daboli would be expanded to ensure that more traffic and beat these threats. This is one data, and I'll give you one more data. Way back in 1999, even further, August 13, 1999, P.V. Jayakrishnan was the Secretary of Civil Aviation. Okay, he essentially said at that point of time that we will ensure that Daboli will have 24 hours landing and takeoff facility for civilian aircrafts within the next 2 months. The runway would be upgraded so that bigger aircrafts of Indian Airlines, that time there was Indian Airlines and not many private airlines, would be landing. He also said that more ATCs would be put at Dabolim and have instrument landing system at the airport. And also what was agreed upon, that there would be a study on the pattern on which the Kochi airport has been upgraded, and Goa would be developed along the same lines. So this data points to the fact that there was a very clear thinking that all the drawbacks of Daboli, which you rightly pointed out, would be circumvented by these kind of steps. So the thinking was not necessarily the Mopa was not the solution. Improving Daboli was the solution.
No, but now
can I just add?
Yeah.
Can I just add something there?
Yeah.
From my understanding and knowledge about the aviation industry and our studies of Dabolim Airport, the airport can be expanded continuously to meet future growth requirements for till whatever we can see the growth possibilities are. So there was absolutely no need for the Mopa airport, and as clearly told to us by the then Union Minister Civil Aviation Ajit Singh when he came for opening of Dabolim terminal, he said very clearly, you guys are working on this too late. All the big guys are waiting for this airport so that their investments in land in southern Maharashtra and northern Goa will bear fruit.
Okay.
So what is driving this is only speculation with land. That's why Mopa airport.
So basically, leave aside the political part of it, or the other part of the strategy what we are talking about. Now Mopa is reality. Let's be honest about it. Once Mopa is reality, now again to put map across, I will put across again the data. How many flights are landing at Dabolim today? 61 flights. Okay, that is 57 domestic, 4 international. How many flights are landing at Mopa? 26 domestic, 4 international. So 30 flights. So as of now, the Dabolim has the load.
Correct.
Overall, after, let's talk about. I'm not here to defend any X versus Y, but I will give you the correct perspective way industry look at it, or I personally also look at it because I'm into travel business. Overall, after Mopa coming in, the traffic is increased by 30%.
Where?
in Goa of on the air traffic I'm
Right.
talking about. So earlier it was 8.4 million passengers which were coming into Goa. Today it is 11.2 million. Out of that 11.2
So
million,
this data is after the commissioning of Mopa. you
Mopa
said?
Airport.
Oh.
This is as on which will close on as of 31st March 2024 this year. Correct. 84 million was as on 31st March 2023. So as on 31st March 2024, the data, the number of passengers coming in will be around 11.2 million.
Right.
So there is a straight away increase of passenger growth of almost 30 million.
Right.
Okay, which was not possible if Dabolim was not in current capacity, because if we have seen when Mopa was not around, the chaos at the
Yeah, but
at
Nilesh, the point at hand, agreed. I mean, your data is extremely important and well taken. The question is that what the people of South Goa or many people involved in this, both emotionally and otherwise, feel that this growth is certainly coming, but what is it doing to industry, commerce and tourism in South Goa?
No. So I will come on that also. So what has happened is, when I am talking about this for Mopa is concerned, the Dabolim passengers, there is a degrowth of almost 1 million. So it is a 7 million now, which was 8 million last time. So there
degrowth is there.
Degrowth is there of 1 million at Dabolim. Now there are for various reasons for that. One of the major reason is the less number of charter flights, for reasons which are known to everyone. Secondly, the airlines itself per se are having their own issues. Like today, SpiceJet is having their own issue. Why SpiceJet withdrawn the flight? Earlier they used to have.
Why did they withdraw the
I'll tell. They had 18 to 19 flights earlier. Now it is just gone to 2 to 3 flights. And the only flight which, because they wanted to hold on with spot with the Dabolim, because Dabolim is a more premium airport. So I will come on the pricing later. So why I am saying Dabolim is a premium airport as far as the passenger is concerned. So SpiceJet is having their own issues, financial issues. So that's the reason they have withdrawn. They have to reduce the flight. They are having court cases and they have got the funding also right now. So hopefully it will streamline. Go Air went all of a sudden burst. So with that, Go Air almost had, if not mistaken, 16 flights into Goa. It went to 0. So number of flights coming down. Add to it, Indigo, as of now, they have almost their 40 to 60 aircraft which are grounded because of engine issue. So that PW engine issue, so they are going for C check and the proper checks and they will come back. So right now they are scared of aircraft. So that was one of the reasons. From the 15th of Jan, they withdrew almost 16 flights from Goa. Now gradually they are rebuilding, and I believe now almost 10 flights are back into certain.
But
region.
which airport? Mopa or Dabolim?
And I'm talking about both the airports.
Okay.
Both the airports. But more specifically, it was tier 2, tier 3 tier cities which were operating from Mopa.
Right.
So which now they are coming up. So they have an engine issue. So with putting all this across, there was a challenge. Of course, Akasa added to the capacity, which is plus sign. Air India merging with Air Asia and Air India, eventually merging with Air India and Vista being merged. So overall capacity of their flights will also increase. Now when airlines are growing, definitely they will expect to aircraft, they will require place to park, they will require more flights and they will require more sustainable flights, and Goa is the one place which they look into it. Not now, I am talking about last 30, 40, 25 years. Whenever airlines were starting, Goa was their first flight which they used to look into it. Besides metro, Goa, because Goa was not a bleeding sector. So overall Goa always had a plus thing. So I think overall that will exist. Now we are talking about this Fly 91. Why not Dabolim by Mopa? Dabolim does not have a parking facility for the aircraft, which Mopa has it, being a new, because there are no other assets which are there available. That is the reason why Fly 91 is operating, because they got a base to park the aircraft, because they require a base to park aircraft. Even on that Mopa, it has to be developed for their sustainability. Of course, now both are looking into it as a government thing.
Okay. See, Dominic, now we have heard both Abhijit and Nilesh on both these fronts. The GFDO has been, of course, fighting for the Dabolim Airport and the existence airport only, and you've been. See, I feel that in your GFDO, I focus a lot more on the word O, the last one, only. Yes. Okay. Now obviously that only part is gone now.
Is gone.
In the sense it's no longer only. Okay. Now since the only has gone, what is your premier fight now? I mean, in the sense that where will your fight focus on? Right?
Our fight will always focus on the priority airport and the only sustainable airport being Dabolim.
Right.
But the truth being that the government is taking every measures to suffocate that airport. They are using every possible game changer to try and suffocate. Most
Okay. On what basis are you saying this?
Flights, taking away of flights, the government could play a role into trying to sustain these flights in this airport, bringing down, playing a role. Both the governments are run by the BJP, by the central leadership and the state leadership. So decisions would be easier.
No, but what Mr. Shah is saying that the reduction of the flights is not necessarily because they want to move to airport, but there are issues with the airlines.
That is the point of view. But my point of view is that if the governments are run by the central and the state, by the same government who is ruling in majority, then why there is no role played into making sure that Dabolim will sustain and not be suffocated? This is suffocation, pure suffocation. There are many reasons. One more reason is that flights are being cancelled just priorly towards 2-3 days priorly towards departure, and you are being informed and given choices that you fly from Mopa or you can take a refund.
Right.
That is one thing. Other thing, you continuously till the end you are getting messages that flights are being this flight has changed, this flight, like recently it has happened to me. Then other thing, for extreme any point of travel for any state would be a central point, which was Dabolim was the most ideal central point. So the focus should have been to have a ideal airport which connects the whole of the state ideally. Okay, now Mopa is come, it could be used for other purpose, maybe cargo purpose, maybe other this focus could be lying on that. There is lots of potential for other things to be going on at an airport. So why the focus has not been on Dabolim? Why the government has created such
Okay, got it. Now Abhijit, another interesting point here is that ultimately, as you said, Mr. Shah also said, that the fact remains that Dabolim is a defense airport.
No, I don't agree.
Okay, so you can respond to that. I'll finish the question, then you can give your point. Now, what is interesting, the point that I was trying to make is, see, Dixon who was the vice president of the Small and Medium Hoteliers Association, had made an interesting remark way back then, not now. I'll just quote. What happens if the Navy asks the Indian government to occupy the Dabolim Airport 24/7 in the interest of national security on the grounds that the Goa already has another huge airport at Mopa? This was the apprehension, which has come out to be true. Then he says that will be the final nail in the coffin of the tourism industry. This was Dixon's point of view. I'll just give you one more point and then you can answer comprehensively. Today we see Rupesh Kamath, who's a head of the social media cell of the BJP. He puts out a message on Facebook this very morning saying that ultimately our national security is more important than tourism or whatever. The issue is that Dabolim Airport needs a lot more expansion for our defense forces. Big defense aircraft have to land here. So it is a strategic, defense point and so on and so forth. Why are you all harping about Dabolim again and again when you have to hand over this airport because our nation needs it?
It's the biggest joke.
Yeah.
The Navy has been used a number of times, even when they wanted to do the double tracking. Okay, there was this crazy statement from the Chief Minister that no, we need to do the double tracking because it will help the Navy evacuate from Dabolim quickly. Right. So this is a manner in which this bogey Navy is being misused by the government. Right. But being born in an Air Force family and lived in an Air Force camp all my younger days of my life, there is absolutely no defense importance for this airport. The defense importance is in the airports in Rajasthan, Punjab, all closer to the border. Okay, there is absolutely no need for this to be a naval airport, but fundamentally, from all the records we have studied from the Portuguese days and the initial days after Goa was liberated, notification all say that this is a civilian airport, not a naval airport. Okay, so fundamentally Navy is being used to, like Dominic rightly said, to kill Dabolim Airport, because we have met naval officers who have clearly said that we want to give land, but Goa government itself does not want to take the land for the airport expansion. This is the situation. There is ample land for apron expansion, for additional terminal, whatever, runway, everything, there is ample land. As an airport designer, I can tell you. So it's just that Goa government is driven by private corporations. So Mopa Airport is run by a private corporation, okay, and the way we see it, the way I see it, is that this guy sitting in this chair, this owner of this private corporation, is deciding the future of Goa and southern Maharashtra. He has said, wait a minute, I need to take coal to Karnataka. This is where all the steel plants are coming. Goa is going to become a coal hub. Dabolim Airport cannot survive because the main highway from the port is going in front of the airport. So that's not possible. We have to kill this, okay?
Right.
And then let the tourism flip to southern Maharashtra. It doesn't matter, okay? That is how it's planned.
Okay. Nisha, I'll just quickly switch track to another important issue as part of this. We have dealt with this. What about tourism? You are saying that tourism stakeholders will not be affected to that degree. So if you can just look at the tourism scenario and see what are the changes that are going to happen.
See, basically, there, if you remember, whenever this airport was coming in, there was apprehension among the hotels and the tourism industry in South that this will affect overall tourism industry. So one of the suggestion was the connectivity. So that I think at certain extent we have addressed that challenge. Secondly, as of now, I don't foresee any fear for Dabolim. Dabolim will exist. Now, what we have to see is, rather than pressing on, now both are realities. Let's be very, very clear. So now for Dabolim to compete with, now I am not saying survival it will happen somewhere or other, but to compete, because today when we are living in the competition world, when we are talking about Dabolim is Airport Authority of India, where central government agencies are running it, operating it. GMR is under PPP model, so wherein 38% stake is of the government, where the revenue is shared with the government. So technically both are semi-government type of a thing which are running. So now there is both the competition, because high growth, high infrastructure, high capital intensive. That's why we have where government needs to be part of it. Now there needs to be competition. There will be there is a competition. So now where is Dabolim lacking compared to?
No, my question was, I got that. My question was that, look, if you see that the international airport or the more modern airport or the more attractive airport, however way you look at it, is situated in Mopa, then obviously development of hotels and casinos and other entertainment activities are going to happen in that belt. So once that happens, then naturally for a traveler who's coming into Goa and he wants to enjoy himself and be in that zone, he will obviously choose more flights. Ultimately, it's going to be a demand and supply situation.
Even if you look when Dabolim was there, when Dabolim is there, when Dabolim was only the airport, where we had a more crowd, it was always in North Goa. Kalungut, Baga, that area, always we had a bigger crowd. So that question.
Okay, I'll just interrupt you for 1 second. So that again proves the point that Dabolim was so beautifully located.
It is location wise you can make it. It is right in the center. There is no two about it.
But somebody comes to Mopa, for Mopa, then you can't go to South.
I agree with you personally. I mean, agree with you as a tourism stakeholder. I agree with you on that prospect. 100% that's not the question. But the challenge was, at certain challenges where they are at Dabolim, and when the government thought of doing
so you are saying as a president of the TTAG, you feel that the hotels in South Goa will not get impacted at all?
No, impacted means I am talking about Dabolim is going to continue. I don't see Dabolim like this. So I am coming on. If you give me 1 minute before you can shift to it.
Yes.
Today Dabolim is a premium airport, which I said why. There was some misconception which I think airport director also clarified, Mr. Rao from Airport Authority, that regarding UDF charges and passenger fees. The fares at Dabolim sell at higher price than what fare sells at Mopa. This is besides why Mopa the passenger fee is higher compared to what is available here. So the demand at Dabolim is high. So ultimately it is, like you said, demand and supply. The demand at Dabolim will remain high. So airline will need to
But this is-
continue
this is as
operations
of
there. No. Addition to that, I will be not surprised. 1 year from now, we can talk about. Right now, Akasa is not flying from Dabolim.
Correct.
SpiceJet also, once the
It's not
aircraft, more aircrafts coming in, mark my words, they will start flying from Dabolim for sure, because they have the slots which new airlines were not getting. That's why they have shifted there. So they will come in. Like Fly 91 is gone there because nothing was not available at Dabolim. They got the opportunity that they could part the aircrafts and all those things. So looking into that, I think the Dabolim Airport needs to boost up the infrastructure.
Okay. Now, so what are you all doing as an industry to ensure that this infrastructure is boosted?
So what we are doing is we are having continuous meeting with the airport director. We had a continuous meeting with the government also and the bureaucracy also. So reason being the experience which we are talking about, as you are saying, the experience what we are getting at Mopa. That experience is lacking at Dabolim. So we cannot fool ourselves.
That's true.
So we need to improve on that. The facilities inside the airport which are available at Mopa,
There is no comparison.
there is no comparison. So we need to increase that those facilities. It was there earlier. Right now, it's not there. It is it is always under renovation or something.
Correct.
We don't have good restaurants at Dabolim Airport. Now passengers which are coming in, they leave early morning, or they were flying early because it's a 24/7 airport. Beside, if you leave aside the no time period.
Yes.
There are more flights at night than in the day, in certain days. So looking into that, we require good restaurant, which we are lacking in. So good restaurant. Now we are talking about Qatar Airways. I was just debating why Qatar Airways has shifted from Dabolim to
Mopa, of course, correct. Yeah.
One of the reason is experience of the customer. When we are talking experience, they have a business class. Now there is no business class lounge available at Dabolim.
Yeah, that is why people.
So what I am trying to say is,
it almost seems as if it's been curated in that way, so that
no. So what we need to do as a Goan or as a people who wants to, the Goa needs to prosper. I think we need to talk about the improving on this facility, and they are doing it. If you if you can have one-to-one with the airport, they have funds in place and they are doing it. Those improvements have been happening. Of course, being the pace which private sector can do it, government sector, it is little bit slower, whatever. But I think it is coming in, and I am sure in days to come, as an industry, because of our benefit of our tourism industry, we'll see that continues and the improvement happens, which will again on the when you move out of Dabolim, you see the chaos there.
Of course,
which we have been requesting the government every time that there has to be proper queue system with the taxi. So they have got now land opposite for parking, and they are trying to have all those things.
That land opposite they had for parking a long time. Survey number 8, survey number 8/1 was obviously there.
Everyone
We
knows
know
the
how
story.
that entire parking area was taken away and it's converted into a massive construction zone with shops and buildings and other things. We know how
We know
that happened.
how the government is the biggest
Getting
enemy
back
of
to
Dabolim.
Sujay,
Yes.
to the point
Yeah.
where he says that more facilities are not being created. Who creates facilities? That is the question. Isn't it the government that is supposed to provide?
Correct.
You have a continuous ruling of second term in here, and still there is no improvement. That means the government's intention is to suffocate and kill the airport. If they had intentions to do something, soon as they
But
start,
Mr. Shah is saying that is not true.
Because there's
He's
no
saying that
money is
not
already
true.
been sanctioned.
He is saying that there is a
Even
a
if you
scheme involved-
It's like-
involved.
even now what they are doing is that earlier old terminal which was there, which was closed, that is also converted into the parking lot, means for aircraft bay.
See, I'll tell you where this doubt and apprehension is coming. See, my point is, okay, for argument's sake, or let's assume that okay, the intentions are good and Dabolim will never be allowed to die now. Let's kind of park this thought, okay. The point here is that when you see airlines after airlines pulling out, whatever be the reason, the impression that immediately comes to mind is that, and if you again see the glitter of Mopa versus the decay of Dabolim, you can very clearly see one as a favorite child and the other as a stepchild.
Yes,
This is
stepmother
the impression that people get, and you can't blame the people for
No,
that.
it is
And
true.
then what happens is when you have see also Mr. Shah, you must understand one thing. Now the majority of the people, if you see the number of people who are traveling abroad from Goa, primarily because there are large number of people in South Goa who have relatives or of people who settle there. You have the shippies, you have people moving there who are coming in constantly. The traffic from South Goa, primarily by virtue of the people who live here and their connections with abroad, the large number of people from South Goa whose connections with cities abroad is very, very strong in terms of family and others. So what happens here is, I'm talking of the mindset here, is that when an airline like Qatar moves to Mopa, or when an airline like Oman Air moves to Qatar, the immediate thing is that our regular journeys to London, our regular journeys to other places, then there's so many people who work in Dubai and other places, they feel that their London and their Dubai is even more cut off. For people who are coming in from London or Dubai, they feel that is even more cut off when they're landing in Bhopal. See, I'll tell you the reason. You must understand the reason why this is happening.
I will give you the explanation for this very clear. I think that is a thought process of olden days when you didn't have connectivity. So I don't think so. That is should be the argument. I'll tell you. I will give the example. I will give you the example of London itself. Now London, you have 3 airports. You have 2 airports, Gatwick and LHR, which are main airports.
Correct. And you have Stansted also. Yeah.
So earlier,
Luton you have.
Earlier, the flight to Goa, when Dabolim was operating, it was operating from LHR, which is London.
Correct.
Airport.
Now it's going to Gatwick.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now they are going to Gatwick. What is the reason they are going to the Gatwick? Now, if you ask anybody coming from London, you will say that now earlier it was good for us. Now it is another 1.5 2 hours drive. Let me finish. I'll come to on that.
Okay,
now, why they have shifted? Even when they shifted from Dabolim to Mopa, because of the issue at London Airport, they were slots they were not getting in. So the Mopa, of course, there is a competition as I told you. It's a ultimately boils down to business proposition. The slots were available, which were timing could land there and come here. So it went to shifted to.
Okay, just my one limited point. Entire thing about Gatwick and LHR. See, what happens is from Gatwick, when you land in Gatwick, getting to Zone 1 in London and landing in Heathrow, getting to Zone 1 in London is almost the same. There's no problem. The reason being that you have the Heathrow Express and the Gatwick Express, you get into a train around the same time you're entering. So the point issue is that look at the infrastructure in either Gatwick or Heathrow to connect people into the mainland. My issue is that here see, ultimately you have to go there, travel from Mopa to here. Let us not look only at the infrastructure, but look at the amount the person is spending on his taxi or
that's what I was trying to point.
My point is it will work wonderfully if there's a high-speed train connecting from there to the south. People won't have a problem. But right now, it will also look at the amount of money which is being spent for people to come from there.
Suja, I recently asked the taxi guy how much he would charge to go to Mopa.
So my point is what you're saying. We take your point very respectfully, and it's
now, but for on the transport issue, there can be another topic.
Yeah,
now I agree with you that if you want to fly from, say, if you want to drive them from Dabolim to the furthest point, that is Hotel Lalit in Kankan, it will cost you 6,000 or 7,000.
Exactly. Lalit is not the furthest point. There is Loli and Pole. There are so many people working on ships.
I agree, but I'm talking about the hotel industry where the crowd is.
Last big hotel. Let's look at
last big hotel which is there. So I'm clear on that, and that is one of the points which when the Mopa was starting, we talked about there needs to be a public transport, and to certain extent you have this Kadamba applying to up to certain points.
See,
so more needs to be done on that.
Kadamba will not work. You need a proper train from the airport right.
I agree with you, but do you think it is that simple in Goa? Putting those that infrastructure now.
But Mr. Shah,
if you see the Konkan Railway, the
15 years to think about it.
But
so they talked about the road thing.
There's a fundamental thing that Nilesh's arguments bring out, which is that decisions are being taken based on business needs. He has said it.
Yeah.
He's also said that things are moving because of competition, and that competition is good. And this is where we are heading and treading on very dangerous ground, because it's competition which is going to destroy everything, which is going to destroy Goa, because the business decisions are made based on profit. But Goa is not a place for only a few people to make profit. Goa is a place where lakhs of people live.
You're right.
Okay, where we have all the natural resources and everything that have to be
how is any resource and development helping the lives?
Decisions cannot be, and this is where everything is going wrong. Decisions are being made based on profit, and if this continues, let me complete. If this continues, it does not take the government any effort to close Daboli down, because this lies in tune with the bigger picture of Adani and others who want to transport coal from South Goa, who want to develop new pristine areas in Maharashtra where locals are not stakeholders. You won't have competition from the locals, and therefore the profits will be much more. So this is part of a much bigger game plan.
It's part of a very calculated game, which even Abhijit is aware. If we remember the investigation of the sale deeds which were done in that areas, land was already purchased and the whole land was already planned around Mopa. Mopa is just a dot over there, but besides a dot,
tell me now.
See, basically,
Yeah.
you tell me, in today's world, he says that without business, how Goan will survive? Business is the key. How many jobs government can give? So, in fact, that is another topic altogether. But somehow, I don't understand that how, when we are talking about the survival of Goan staying in Goa, unless there are opportunities, it may be a job wise or business wise. We see lot of brain drain happening. So I think that is a different topic altogether.
To survive, you need air, you need food, you need water. You don't need a job.
Today we have aspirations.
I'm sorry,
now.
you got it all wrong.
and you don't need another.
And that is what is driving humanity down.
No, that is a different logic. It is all a philosophical talk to talk on all this.
It's happening across the world.
That's fine. That's fine. I agree with you.
We all have children. We have future generations. We have to think of them. If you're thinking of profit and if you're driven by business, you are not going to think of.
But you are not getting up on how you will survive otherwise if you don't talk about the business.
Okay, now let's get back to Dabolim. Okay.
You don't survive on money. We don't eat money. We eat food.
I think I think on the understanding is a little bit different than what I am thinking.
Okay, let's go back to one important point. I mean, let's go. The center of the whole issue is whether Daboli is going to survive or not. Okay. Now, if Daboli has to survive, from your point of view, I am taking your perspective only. There has to be infrastructure development around Daboli. There has to be land which needs to be developed. Even if you want to make it into a hub of business and creativity, from your point of view, hotels will have to be built. Now the issue is, if Daboli has to be as successful as Mopa from your point of view, then whatever is happening in Mopa has to happen in Daboli. Now, has that been planned? Let us look at it purely from that point of view only.
If we have this thing with airport authority, they already the chairman for them was Mr. Sardin.
Right.
So in earlier committee we were part of this thing. So there already funds has been allocated, and the expansion is going on.
No, not really. I'm not really talking of the airport. What I'm essentially saying, in the sense that when you look at expansion, I'm looking at the entire airport region expansion. In the sense that if Daboli needs to be attractive, see for instance, if you want the business class passengers to come, if you want the high-end businessmen to stay in hotels around it, then the same expansion has to happen around Daboli as well.
So where is the cosmetic view?
So the issue is around it. My point is, if Daboli has to compete, then you'll have to have those kind of hotels, infrastructure.
The hotels you have in South Goa, right? You have the hotels across which have been come across.
Okay.
So there is a being the airport there are restrictions. Unfortunately, we have been seeing there, which we see in the news reports also, that houses of people who came across were demolition, which is a sad thing which happened. Whatever what's right, wrong, that is a different. I am not on that ball game, but there is already infrastructure for hotel industry in South, and more hotels are coming. Right. Of course, there is no two way about it. The expansion is not right now is quite in speedy. Absolutely, comparatively correct. South. There is no two correct. About it. And there are many reasons. It's not only that the people in North are more enterprising, or people from outside only are coming in. There are reasons for that also, because it's easier to do something in North than in South.
Let's
leave it aside. I'm not in the political thing. No, but we appreciate it. So what our thinking, whenever we sit in the meeting, what we see, the South is a premium destination, and it will become more premium because the type of crowd which is attracting will be good overall. And it is, when we are talking about, it's not only the star hotels, we are talking about the people who want from the lower end to higher end. The people, the type of crowd overall coming is good. So, and it will continue that way, and it will increase in days to come. As far as facilities are concerned, we have been putting across, and we are continuous process that certain 2 or 3 things which is a must for sustainability will come. And overall, for both the airports to sustain, for leave aside MOPA, the main thing is the local traffic which comes on both the airports is how much?
Local traffic meaning aircraft
Locals.
standing.
No, we locals staying in Goa. What is the percentage of traffic coming on those aircraft?
You share the data with
It's
us.
not more than 5%.
Okay.
So we depend on tourism to survive. So another angle to is this: the Dabolim to survive or MOPA to survive, the sustainability of tourism industry is the key. So we need to work towards it. How we are going to sustain the industry?
This brings us to a very interesting point. If you see both the reports, the studies which were done before MOPA Airport, the ADPI 2005 report and the ICAO 2007 report, the dual airport study, both of them make it very clear that if Goa is going to have 2 airports and you want to sustain them, then there is a huge list of things which have to be done across Goa, basically turning Goa into a Mumbai or a Bangalore. Without that, 2 airports cannot sustain. So it's very clear that if you want to have both the airports, then you got to be resigned to the fact that there will be no Goa. There will be a Bangalore or a Mumbai here, not a Goa. That is for sure. This is clearly said in both the government's reports.
ADPI and I.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now just before you wind up, a quick last round. We'll start with you, Dominic. See, Dominic, of course, there is one strong feeling from the industry point of view that EE is here to stay. The worries that you are raising or others are raising, that is little misplaced because EE is going nowhere. That is the viewpoint coming from government and industry.
Okay.
Now, suppose we want to hold the government and industry to account and ensure that what they are saying is true. What are the assurances that you all need immediately to make you believe this?
Execution of plan, where they're saying that there is sanction of funds, but what is the sanction of funds going to do over there? How are they going to make Dabolim look as compatible
So
as
you're saying there should be greater transparency and
greater transparency
and make people
exactly,
people
and
believe.
also the transportation system is normally going to discourage the extreme end people who have to travel distance to an airport. They are going to feel discouraged. I'll give you a simple example. We traveled to Bombay by a flight from Dabolim, 3,100 rupees. I asked the cab driver who transported me there how much he would charge me to MOPA. 3,000.
Right.
So what is convenient? This is the question.
Right.
Convenience and economics is going to actually deprive and create a deprived form of encouragement to tourism in the far south.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Shah, to make people understand and believe that the future of EE is not bleak and it will indeed expand and coexist along with MOPA, what is the communication that should be put out to people to make them believe this?
See, basically, time will tell. That is a key, because how things pans out.
No, time will tell.
Time will tell. But
the
no,
point
as
is
of now, for us,
Yeah.
believe that both the airports will remain is because we are having continuous communication with the both the airports, how they are going. We had the communication with the government that it is it will continue.
So where
Of
does
course,
your personal conviction come from?
my personal conviction comes from the type of money which is put in at the Dabolim for expansion.
Okay. Do
Okay.
you have the data on that?
Sorry, I don't have
Okay,
data.
fine.
But the amount of money which is put in and continues even after that airport, when they started the construction, still money was being pumped in here.
Okay.
So that money is been putting, the infrastructure has been getting ready. Now we cannot compare the infrastructure at Dabolim and MOPA because Dabolim has its area restriction while this has a vast barren land. So the expansion is a different mode.
So
Here it is more on the vertical
your
side.
conviction and confidence comes from the funds earmarked for
Funds
expansion.
earmarked for them.
Okay.
Secondly, the strategic location which Dabolim is into. So Dabolim, if you ask any Penjimite which airport he will prefer going to MOPA or Dabolim, he will say Dabolim.
Exactly, correct.
You are getting a point. So right from north, from Penjim side till this, I think there is no two way about it. Secondly, thirdly, the infrastructure which they are trying to build from Parorim to that will take
MOPA, too.
that will take a time. It is
Exactly.
not going to have overnight.
No, it will take at least 5-6 years.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. So So by that time, both the airports will have their own stability. So you don't expect in another 5-6 years under no circumstances Dabolim will get closed. That is very it's impossible. Even if whatever you are saying, whatever the panelists or whatever thinking is there, it's okay. But another 5 is impossible. But by that time, I think we'll have a level playing field for both the airports. And I think if, both the airports way things have panned out throughout the world, I think we'll see that things will improve.
Abhijit, as somebody who's quoted studies that have happened, and the fact that you've outlined the difficulty or the impossible aspect of both these airports existing, but in the light of certain confidence claims that have been put forward in terms of expansion that is going on, even if one were to believe that, what is that X factor that is needed for people who are worried to think otherwise and say that, look, there's a glimmer of hope?
It's very clear. The people who are taking the decisions, okay, need to be scientific, need to do it based on reason and logic. At the moment, the people who are taking the decisions are driven by profit and seem to be ruled by a few private corporations. This is very clear. Our Goa government and the union government are actually dancing to the tune of private corporations. If this happens, there is no two ways. Dabolim has to die, because that's where private profit is not made. Private profit is going to be made at Mopa, and this is a perfect place for NH17B to take coal and everything. So we can only have hope for a better Goa and for better decisions if this present dispensation, the one that is running this whole thing based on no science, no reason, no logic, this has to go. This has to go. We need decision makers who are able to see what Goa really is, who are able to be there for all the Goans. Right now, decision makers, especially regarding airport policy, are driven only by private profit, and this is a danger not just to Goa. This is going to happen across the country, and it's going to take us, if this is not stopped right now, it's going to take us in a spiral downwards towards nothing.
At some stage, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the discussion and debate, but at some stage, one also needs to understand and weave this into the entire narrative, that here the center will play a very, very big role either way, either to kind of take this whole airport debate into just one side and totally crush Dabolim, or at the same time, as Mr. Shah is saying, if there is any hope of Dabolim's revival and restoration of its pride of place as it once had, the clear communication needs to come out, and there needs to be a visible change and progress as far as Dabolim's stature is concerned, with infrastructure expansion that can be visibly noticed and experienced, flights coming back, airlines deciding to operate out of Dabolim, and ensuring that if somebody needs to fly out of Goa or fly into Goa, he or she would have adequate choices in landing at both airports. That feeling has got a little rattled, or very rattled, by certain developments that have happened now, and I think that is where the crux of the whole apprehension and despondency lies, and that's important to look at it. We've had a very important debate, heated at times, with different viewpoints coming in, but I think at some point of time the interests of the industry also needs to be aligned with the interests of the people, and profit for sure is important for growth and development, but at the same time one needs to look at the entire essence of the land and see whether the land and the people ultimately benefit, because ultimately governments and people who are at power have that to deliver, because irrespective of who they are batting for, they must understand that they are playing this game on the basis of they getting the votes from the people of the land, and that is most critical. I thank all the panelists for their viewpoints, their insights, their data, and their perspectives. I thank all of you, and maybe we should keep this debate going, because this is one aspect that we need to keep visiting and ensuring that we keep an eye on this. Thank you.